Alright, so for the purposes of this unboxing, I've already unboxed everything, which might seem counterintuitive, but to hold a camera and open these at the same time would be difficult. We had the narrow box here, which had the two truss sections. We had a box here, which had the two tripods, and then the main box that came UPS. So here are the unboxed items. We have our 4-foot truss sections in plastic. Two of them, and we've got our, sorry about that, our two tripods, and there goes one of them, and it fell over. Good job. We're going to get these unwrapped and out of the plastic, and we'll be right back. Alright, so we've got our two tripods unwrapped out of the plastic and extended, and you can see that there are two sections that telescope with two tightening collars. Now, these aren't extended all the way. That top section there extends actually beyond the height that my ceiling can accommodate. These are maybe a little over 8.5-foot ceilings, I would say. So we've got the first tripod and the second tripod. Now, they seem to be decent build quality. The knobs and the plastic seem to be pretty good. Everything's in good shape from packaging, no scratches, things like that. So they're decent tripods. On this one, this section was very tight in there, and I actually had to take the collars off and push the pole through to get it out because it was kind of tight. Now this one was actually loose and fell back into the pole, so I had to flip it over. So just something to keep in mind with the top section. It might be a little loose, it might be a little tight. The only other problem I see with this is that the top section has no stop on it, so you can pull it all the way out through the end of the collar, and there's no little rivet or anything on the end of it to keep it in place, but shouldn't be a problem. You shouldn't be extending these probably to the very end of each telescoping section anyway, just for the purposes of keeping it sturdy. So next we'll take a look at our truss sections here. Again, two 4-foot sections. They're flat. They're not like a 3-piece triangle. They're flat. And each one comes with a tightening knob on each end to slide it onto the top telescoping section of the tripod. And then we see that there are the holes on each piece in the middle. You slide these into place, and then in the box came two tightening knobs with a nut on there. And we're going to do this and then bring the camera back. As I'm putting this together, I just wanted to point out, you can see welded to the opposite side here are built-in nuts. So the one nut kind of serves as almost as a washer between the knob and this side of the hollow pole. And on the other side is a threaded nut already, so you can just screw these right in. I was about to say that the nuts that came attached to the knobs were so tight I was going to need a tool, which I never like to. You have to use tools when I put these kind of pieces of equipment together. You're at a DJ gig, you're at an event, you want to be able to break down and set up quickly just using hand tightening, if at all possible. And it is possible, so that's good to know. Let me see if I can hold this in place with my foot, or my leg, or my knee there. Since I'm doing this one-handed and sitting on the floor, we'll get that in there, and we'll tighten it. Next time I'll get a cameraman to help me out, but that's okay. And alright, we are tightened into place. We've got one continuous truss section. Now the tricky part, as I stand up here, is going to be sliding it down onto the end of each pole. I'm obviously not going to be able to film that, but we'll do it and then we'll come back with a shot of it installed. We've got our truss section successfully put on top here, and I can say that this has plenty of leeway here to loosen it and keep it clear so you can slide the truss down onto the pole without needing to completely remove it. So this doesn't, the bolt is in here and it's not scraping the pole as you lower the truss section on. So I'm just going to tighten this. Again, it has a built-in nut welded onto the frame there. So that's that. Let's tighten this over here. The other thing is that these tripods are light enough. Everything's light enough that I was able to do this by myself. I didn't have the tripods nearly spaced out apart far enough. So I was able to kind of lower it onto this side, hold the truss with one hand, like this, and then reach over with this hand that I'm holding the camera with, grab that tripod with that one arm, and push it out far enough, and then lower it on. So if you're by yourself, like a mobile DJ like me, you'll be able to set this up by yourself, at least so far. Now, the part I haven't covered yet that came in the box was the screen. So let's see what we've got here. Looks like we've got a bag with the white screen itself. We've got an Odyssey branded zippered carrying pouch of some decent grade fabric with a smooth, what seems to be a water resistant material on the inside, and it looks like we've got our bag of straps. They're like a pinch to clasp type setup. So we'll get these things unwrapped, and next we'll look at mounting the screen. Okay, we've got the screen out, and you can see I've got it hanging over the truss. Like I said earlier, if you're a mobile DJ and you're working by yourself, you don't have a partner or a roadie, which you know, it costs money to have another person with you, so most mobile DJs are by themselves. I was thinking about how I wanted to do this, so what I did is I draped it over like this, and as you can see, on the sides are these hooks. Right here, it's kind of in the hem of the edge of the screen, and I'm thinking what I can do is there's a lot of these straps. I got some more on the table over there, but you can grab this, and while it's hanging, you know, you have both your hands free because it's hanging. You can put this in here, strap it on, strap the one by one with it hanging to kind of hold it up for you, and that should enable you to do this by yourself without another pair of hands. So let's get moving on that. As you can see, I've got the two corners hanging, and it's up off the ground, which is good for keeping it clean. One thing I failed to mention before is you want to have these hooks that you're going to hook into. You want to have that facing away from your audience. I had it facing towards me before, but we're going to assume that the wall back there is the rear, and that the side I'm standing on now is facing the audience. So you just wrap it through there, clamp it on, and it looks like it's about the right size to go around the truss. Maybe you want to weave it in and out of there. I don't know. We'll see as I go along, but I'm going to hook the rest of these on, and we'll show the result. Alright, we've got our screen up, stretched out, and mostly good to go. Now, one thing I'll say is that if you're going to put this screen up at a gig, leave yourself plenty of time. Because if you look, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 of these straps to connect. And I believe Odyssey makes a bottom bar for this too, so that would be 14, 15, 16 total if you do the bottom three. Just a couple comments about this. For the purposes of not damaging the screen, I guess a cloth strap like this is the best, but as you can see here, it slips. So, you know, I had this tightened all the way and it kind of slipped. So you might have to figure out a way to tie the loose part. And the second thing about that loose part is, if you look, you have a lot of slack hanging down behind the screen if you just tighten these and let them go. And if you're projecting from the rear, that's going to be a problem because you're going to have lines coming down the screen into your image. And also, if you just leave them hanging along the pole, it kind of looks sloppy. So you're going to have to figure out what you want to do with the extra slack from these straps here. So those are a couple minor issues that I'm going to think about as I get ready to use this for the first time at a gig in a couple weeks. But you know, I wanted to make sure I had it ahead of time, and so I can work these little bugs out and figure out what I want to do with these things. One other thing, when I first put the corner straps on, I had the strap all the way up and around. Obviously that's going to look ugly. I would recommend putting it along the bottom bar. I just wasn't really thinking. So overall, for the Odyssey LTMVSS8 screen system with the two tripods, the truss, and the Lycra spandex screen, Overall, I'd say maybe 8 out of 10, and the only reason I take off 2 points is the straps are a bit long and there's no real intuitive way to deal with the slack. You have to get a little creative there. The one pole, the top section was loose, the other one was a little bit tight, so a little bit of quality, or I'd say manufacturing variance on the two tripods. And overall, I'd say though that it's a good, decent system for setting up, and so it definitely deserves an 8 out of 10 with just a couple minor dings on it. Alright guys, and just as a follow-up, I've got the screen kind of oriented towards the corner of my living room, and I've got my BenQ MS616 ST projector, putting some Justin Timberlake on there. I don't have enough room in my living room to really get it far back enough, sorry about that, to get it far back enough to fill the screen. Now, the only thing I would say is, as you approach the screen, see this bright spot? That's the projector itself. You're kind of looking at the lens of the projector. So, depending on the orientation of your projector behind the screen, if you're doing rear projection, that's kind of one of the downfalls of this setup, is that you're going to be able to see a bright hot spot if you're in the line of sight of the lens from your viewing angle. But if you're further back, you can still kind of see it down there, right there. A little less of an issue, but again, just something else to point out. But overall, for a $250 setup, another $30 for the carrying bag, not a bad little screen. Okay, so one other item I wanted to review for you guys is the carrying case for the LTMVSS8 mobile projection system. The bag model number is BLTMTS8. Now, right off the bat, I have a couple gripes about it. Now, first of all, keep in mind, this bag goes for $27.99 on B&H, and I think the pricing is similar elsewhere. One thing is that the bag is not sturdy, and it doesn't keep its form. It's very floppy. As you can see, it's kind of sprawled out with all the gear in here. The second thing I can say is it's a wide open bag. It doesn't have any dividers. It doesn't have any padding. It's just very thin material. So there's really nothing protecting your stands from getting scratched, and the stands and the truss sections getting scratched by rubbing each other in the bag, and it really doesn't provide that much protection against outside elements. Really all it's good for doing is carrying all the items together. It does have an outside zipper pocket here, which presumably could fit, where did I put it? Here it is. The tote bag that has the screen, and I also put the straps in here. So presumably that'll fit in there. I'll give it a shot, but this is a really basic bag. You might want to find a 4-foot long speaker stand bag or something like that as an alternative, because this really doesn't provide any protection from getting your trusses and stands all scratched up. Okay, now I've got the bag zippered up, and unfortunately this side zipper pocket right here does not fit that screen pouch. I ended up just putting it in the end here on top. As you can see, it's just in there, and it fits okay. Again, not crazy about the bag, but it'll do the job. And as you can see in the video in the earlier shot, what I did is I took the packaging plastic that came in the brand new packaging, and I just put those plastic sleeves back over the trusses and the stands as a, hopefully that'll help reduce at least the number of scratches that might occur in transit. And I'll just do my best to be careful, but sometimes when you're in a hurry and you just throw things in the back of your car or your SUV, scratches can occur. So, I guess I would say I'd give this bag a 5 out of 10 stars, because it leaves a lot to be desired. But again, considering that it's only under $30, it'll do the trick for now. So that's the carrying case that is sold separately from the LTMVSS8 Odyssey projection screen system. So that's the Odyssey LTMVSS8 mobile DJ screen system. My name is Jim from Jim Davis Productions in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and I hope that this video has been informative for you, and that if you're planning on buying one yourself, it helps you get it set up. Thanks for watching.